In today's video, we're going to be doing a deep dive into product research strategies that allow me to break the $100,000 a month mark in my arbitrage business. Everyone seems to struggle with product sourcing and how many products they can actually buy, or they struggle with having conviction to buy deeper on proven winners. But have you ever thought about how other sellers are making money on the products that people tell you are too risky to buy or that you shouldn't go for? Those risks to you is profit to somebody else. So your likely bottleneck to scaling your business is either a lack of experience to actually have conviction to go into those products in the first place, or you lack conviction to buy deeper on your winning products. You guys got to understand that there is data sitting inside of every single Keepa chart that you pass on a day-to-day basis. You've probably looked at the same product 3-4 times now, and these same products that you've been told to skip since day one, other sellers are making a fortune on. So the only real question that matters is, does the product sell, and will it be profitable by the time it's ready to sell? So today I'm going to help you with not only how to find more leads, but to have better buying conviction when it comes to those new leads where you don't know how much product to actually buy. And by the end of the video, you'll probably realize that sourcing more wasn't actually the answer, because the products you've been looking for have been right in front of your face this whole time. Okay, so the first analysis feature that helped me scale past 100K a month and really just opened my eyes to seeing what was possible in terms specifically about buying deeper on products that I've never sold before is going to be something in the data tab of Keepa here. So if you click on the data tab and go to the offers tab here, okay, you're going to see that it brings up basically two charts, and then it also shows you what sellers are currently next to each of these charts. So essentially what this means is it's showing the stock history for this particular item and where that seller was pricing their items at, and it's essentially giving you an insight into each seller's sell-through rate for their products. Okay, now the way you're going to want to actually configure this is you're going to want to also click the include historical offers button, and that's going to also show you people who have sold out of this product. And now you can see here that we are literally looking at how much units people have sold, you know, in a given time period. So right now we're on the 90-day time period, which is extremely helpful for forecasting inventory that you've never purchased before, because just with the price history on Keepa alone, you know, you might assume this product may only sell 20 times for you, given that it has 30 offers and that it's only a 200 monthly sold or something. But if we go into the data tab here on Keepa, we can see that this thing absolutely rips and sells way more than that. So you would probably be under buying if you only bought 20 units here. And the really cool thing is that you don't even have to guess where people are selling it at, because you literally get a history on their pricing, where they sold X amount of units at, and you get the date ranges that they sold product. So for example, if I was going to forecast a purchase like this that we see on screen here with this type of Keepa data, I'm definitely still taking into account the offers, because I like seeing that offers are moving. I also like seeing that it's steady, you know, all the good things that you want to see from just the general Keepa charts here. So if I were to go ahead and forecast this particular listing, I'm going to first consider the offer count movement in Keepa. That to me is still something that's extremely important, regardless of if you have good data here. But this data really does help justify and sort of give a differing opinion to probably your original estimate, which would be, let's say, 20 units for this example. So in order to actually gauge a predictable forecast that I would make on this type of purchase here, I'm going to consider not just the top offers that are moving the most units, but also some of the other offers that we can see here on screen. Well, we can see a lot of these guys are moving a ton of units. And a true way that you're going to know if product is actually selling for people is if the progression of their stock counts is linearly trending downward, similar to what you would like to see in an offer count. So what you want to avoid when you're actually looking at the stock history here is, first, you're going to want to avoid taking into account the amount that they've sold in the past 30 days, because we can see this guy has sold 120 units, but we have no visual representation that he's actually sold through 120 units. Okay, essentially Keepa counts all of these like almost like IP complaint looking you know, drop-offs here as sold units, which is not true. And this type of chart here is something you want to avoid when it comes to forecasting. These are the accurate charts that you can actually gauge. Okay, if we had 90 on January 27th and we sold all the way down to effectively 3 units on March 11th, right? Then you would just basically run the math of, okay, you sold 87 units, and then the difference between January 27th and March 11th, which whatever that would be, let's call it like 40 days, you would essentially divide 87 units sold in 40 days, and that'll give you a sell-through rate per day of how many units you can essentially sell per day of this product, according to this guy's Keepa data here. And then I would again go through a couple different sellers to get some other perspectives. So I would also be trying to reference this as close to the current market as possible. So I wouldn't be necessarily referencing this back like 180 days. I would be trying to figure out, you know, does this apply to the current market conditions based on their, you know, everyone's sell-through rate that we can see here on screen. So again, if I'm going to do a forecast on this buy, I'm probably going to take into account somebody like this, right, where I can see, you know, they went from essentially 29 to nothing in roughly like 25 days, I would say. I mean, that's what February 28th. So yeah, that's about 22 days here. So 29 sold in 22 days. So you'll get an idea there. Okay, times that by 30. So 40 units on probably a little bit of a more reasonable and conservative end. You also, again, want to take into account what these people were pricing at, because we can see like this guy absolutely ripped his units here. So we would want to make sure that he's also pricing competitively and is not undercutting the market, which it looks like he is priced competitively here. So really when it comes to just determining the forecasting, is it's kind of going back and forth with these sellers that you can see are linearly selling out of product and referencing what their current pricing is. Because, you know, if we were going to reference, let's say this brand clothing guy, but he was undercutting the market, obviously his sales velocity is going to be like way better than anyone priced regularly. So we want to take into account people who do apply to the current sale price that you plan to sell this product at. And essentially this was one of the biggest factors that was able to take me past 100K a month, because simply you literally get to look into what everyone is selling this product at, even if you don't have, you know, their seller board account ID or something like that. So anyways, to finish up the forecasting for this, we kind of have an idea here that we could sell about 40, because we do see that there is still a good bit of offers, and also that the offer count movement it's moving, but it's not like the craziest moving. Based on like what we're seeing of some of these guys here, I'd probably estimate about 40 to 50 units of this would be a pretty reasonable amount to purchase here, but you could probably purchase even more. That would just be a little bit more of a conservative estimate from me personally, because we can see a guy like this literally ripped through about 22 units in, you know, 5 days. Again, I try and have a healthy blend of understanding the offer chart and also competition in accordance to monthly sold and stuff like that when it comes to determining the forecast amount for how much I plan to purchase. So to wrap that up, that's going to be about 40 to 50 units on this Glossier Boy Brow Volumizing Eyebrow. Okay, and before I forget, another thing I want to mention when it comes to the type of charts to avoid so that you're not having inaccurate forecasts is stuff like this as well, where you can see it's really choppy. Okay, this looks like hypothetically, oh, these people might be selling out really fast, but it still applies very similarly to the same concept that this guy has, where it's a lot of sharp drop-offs. Okay, you really want to look for these linear progressions downward, even if it's for a short period of time. So we can see like Pan America up here, right? He still has a very linear progression down, even if it's a little choppy. Okay, we just want to avoid stuff where it's like there's really no downward trend that we can identify. Again, very similar to a ideal trend in Keepa. We want to avoid these, you know, blocky ones as well. So really it's funny how it works, because it's just like trying to read an offers chart in Keepa with the things you want to see and the things you don't. So those are going to be some tips and tricks when it comes to actually forecasting and which charts to take into account. Okay, and before we move on to the next thing that helped me scale past 100K a month with these hidden Keepa features, if you guys want to learn more about how I was able to learn all of this stuff, feel free to go ahead and sign up to the newsletter below. In this newsletter, I post once a week talking about tips, tricks, and strategies to help you scale and start your Amazon FBA business, specifically for those of you looking to get into online arbitrage. So definitely feel free to check it out below. Okay, the next type of listings that I personally love to sell on that other people don't is going to be stuff where Amazon is in stock, but you can actually sell and compete and get buy boxed as if the listing was a regular listing. So a lot of people get afraid when Amazon is in stock on a product, because they immediately think that they're not going to be able to net sales, they can't compete. And a big thing is first identifying who the buy box is actually going to. So in this example, we can see that Amazon is way too high. I mean, their price is completely uncompetitive, which is leading to this literally being a normal listing just with Amazon on it. Like if I removed this Amazon here, you would probably just think this is a normal listing, right? Because Amazon is not actually taking any of the buy box share, which means that literally all these sellers for the entire year have just essentially been able to sell at their own market price, and Amazon has nothing to do with it. Okay, now there's going to be situations like this where Amazon is actually a factoring competitor. So when it comes to stuff like this, I like to think about, does this product have enough velocity to move? What's the offer count movement looking like? Because again, that's a good indicator as to whether or not other sellers are making sales. And then again, I love to run through the data and offers tab in Keepa here to get an idea as to how much stock are other sellers selling through, which, you know, we can see this JB Tools guy is just selling a ton of units here. You can see a more regular seller here sold through an absolute ton of units, and you can again also reference their price history. So this guy sold, you know, a ton at like January 29th at $129. So if we look at January 29th here, right, we can see that this guy was literally competing with Amazon like neck and neck. Okay, we're on January 26th here, but where's January 29? I mean, this guy was priced above Amazon, okay, and he was still making sales during January 29th time period. It looks like he might have stagnated just a little bit, but we can see, right, linear progression downward. So if we even move it a little bit farther to like February 1st, I mean, he is neck and neck with Amazon right here in JB Tools, and he was still making sales just down and down and down and down and down. So that just goes to show you that with using the data offers and also still taking into account that you can compete with Amazon, okay, there is definitely still opportunity. Even if it's not a perfect situation like this where it's very obvious you can make sales even if Amazon's on the listing, okay, even if Amazon is an actual competitor and they are priced competitively, you can still make sales. You just have to know how to analyze if other people are making sales based on using data and offers, and also taking into account general velocity, general competition, and overall if the product would be good if Amazon wasn't technically on it. So that's another thing that really helped me expand my reach on how many products I could buy, because I'd always shy away from products in the beginning where Amazon was selling, because, you know, everybody tells you, oh, don't sell on those products, right? But there's tons of opportunity there, and you probably missed a couple listings just from not knowing some of the stuff I already taught you in this video. Okay, the third type of advanced analysis that I used to not do, and this is a huge thing for me, was I used to not sell products that sold less than 50 times a month. So you guys can see here, there's no 50 a month stamp here. There is no 50 a month yellow line in the middle chart. Okay, this is a product that sells less than 50 times a month. And usually I would stay away from these because I thought there was either no opportunity or because I didn't know how to actually forecast and analyze how many units I was going to buy. Okay, and I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way, to where it's like, oh, it's not going to be worth my time. I'm not going to be able to sell any sizable amount of units. You know, I can't forecast. But we're going to go back to using data and offers for this product example here. And what do you know? We can see that there are a good amount of people here selling at least, you know, I would say 10 units a month probably. I mean, if you really average this out, this shop buy and ship guy is really, you know, making waves with how much he's selling here. And again, this is a pretty low velocity type of product to where we're not seeing a ton of movement in the offer count here. And there's no 50 sales a month stamp, but we can clearly see that people are making sales. We can see like Zeal and W is also making pretty good sales here. But yeah, I would probably do like a 10 unit test buy on something like this, which, you know, if you're buying this product at whatever this preset cost price was, that's $180 in spend. And the nice thing about buying products that sell less than 50 a month is typically they're less competition, and also there's a lot more of them in abundance, because they are sort of the majority of products that do sell on Amazon are products that sell less than 50 a month. So you can really clean up if you look for more difficult type of products to actually go source that other people are afraid of, you know, simply by leveraging, again, some of the stuff I've already taught you so far in this video, because we can see that, you know, even look at this guy, Pacello down here. I mean, he's making tons of sales. We would just want to verify that 38 is a reasonable price, which clearly it was. That's literally what the market price was back in January and through the middle of February. So definitely recommend you guys take a look at some listings that sell less than 50 a month. You might be able to find some gems. Okay, another type of advanced analysis mechanism that really helped me scale was understanding too that you do not have to be in the buy box to make sales. Okay, you can be priced above the buy box, like we see from these new third-party FBA offers, where they are priced right now above the buy box, and you can still figure out a way to forecast inventory if you plan to sell at those higher prices. And again, you're just going to use data and offers because you get an exact look at who is selling what, how much they're selling, and at what price. Okay, so we're going to use this guy Bovley LLC here, for example. All right, we can see that this guy sold, you know, these first like 5 units here. Did take him a little bit of time, probably about 10 days. Sold, you know, about half a unit a day essentially, so 1 unit every other day. And this guy was priced at $37.99 from, you know, February 8th onward. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the data of the market was looking like during that time period. Okay, so if we're looking at February 8th, you can see this Bovley guy is here, and you can see that there were times where there was literally no buy box going to anyone here, but this guy was still making sales. Okay, so you guys can see this. He was literally making a sale every other day, even though he's technically priced not competitively. And this is just proof also that this is a huge competitive advantage, because if everyone's targeting the buy box, right, but you're a smart seller and you know that you can make sales above the buy box for a particular product like this Bovley guy here, then that can be the complete difference maker between a profitable product and an unprofitable product. Because if you thought that you were going to have to price this at $31, let's say, for example, and you didn't know that you could sell this at that $37.99 price point, you know, you can see him still, even after that little period we looked at there, he was still priced at $37.99 all throughout February. And that's also a good indication if you see prices holding very stable. Okay, people aren't going to hold their price if they're not making sales. So even if you can't get direct feedback from the offers here in Keepa, people holding price at the same, you know, or people holding their prices at the same price, even if it's not in the buy box, is usually a good indicator that they're probably making some sales. I typically like to look for proven results though in data and offers here, like we can see with Bovley LLC. So that's another big tip that really helped me scale up, because there's products that you come across every single day where sellers are not in the buy box, but sometimes that's for a reason, and that can really be a great way to boost your margin up as well. All right, and moving on to the last piece of advanced analysis research that has really helped me scale past 100K a month with Amazon online arbitrage is being able to analyze suppressed listings, whether that be sales rank or suppressed buy boxes. So for this Sephora product here, for example, we can see that this product has actually had a buy box for pretty much all of its life cycle in the past year, but for whatever reason has recently gone suppressed. Now, the general piece of advice I like to give when it comes to listing suppression, whether it be sales rank or buy box, is just, again, taking a look at offers tab and making sure that it is a favorable setup. So, are offers moving? Is the trend favorable? Because ultimately that's going to dictate whether or not the suppression is going to actually affect the listing. Okay, sales rank suppression is a little bit different, because if the sales rank goes suppressed for whatever reason, that could be a bit of a risky sign, because then you're playing with velocity, which is a lot more unpredictable once the sales rank has gone away. However, when it comes to dealing with a suppressed buy box, we can see that right now it's probably just suppressed because this guy right here, Gen Zhu, is priced way too high in accordance to what Amazon deems as a fair price. Okay, but just because it's suppressed right now does not mean you should skip a product like this, because this is going to hold, I can almost guarantee, at that $15 to $16 sale price, because offers is still moving downward, it's still moving, and you can go ahead and validate who's actually selling what at what price with the data in offers here. So again, if we look at the offers tab here and we look at Gen Zhu, which is the guy that's actually out of the buy box, you can already see this guy's making sales, right? He's already starting to make some sales and he is not in the buy box. Okay, so prime example of how listing suppression, when it comes particularly to the buy box, doesn't really affect velocity too much. What's more so going to affect velocity is if your sales rank starts shooting really high up, or if you start losing a sales rank. That's where things can get a little dicey. So again, when your listing goes suppressed, or if you are dealing with suppressed listings, really not a big deal. You just have to take into account velocity, offer count movement, and especially like the offer trend to determine, where price is likely going to end up. And these were products that I used to avoid, or I used to think that I couldn't accurately predict where the market was going to go. It's a very simple thing of just literally seeing where the offers are going, how price has been, even with or without a buy box. And from there, you can kind of get a good idea. Suppressed listings are a little bit less ideal just because you can't compete for higher prices in a sense. But I mean, it's not something you have to walk away from if you do have profit sitting on the table right in front of you. I was stuck selling around 30K a month for so long with online arbitrage until I finally found a way to buy with more conviction. And thanks to the lessons I shared, which I believe no one actually talks about here on YouTube, I was able to scale to 100K a month very shortly after and break free of the 30K a month trap. Obviously, there were some more steps that came along the way, like hiring and getting better systems and stuff, but these methods really allowed me to expand my catalog and buy deeper on proven winners, or on products where I hadn't had any proven data, but I could use the data and offers tab for that problem. So I hope in today's video, this advice is something you can walk away with and implement into your own business. And again, if you want help starting or scaling your online arbitrage business, I have a free newsletter linked below is in the description. Again, I post once a week on Wednesdays, so definitely feel free to check it out for more sauce like this. And that's going to be all from me in this video. So I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.